So we see Jesus suffering at the hands of these types of men in his own generation. You see even the Gentile nations through Rome conspiring against God, and yet Christ is given all authority to judge. When Pontius Pilate, and this is something most people don't know, when Pontius Pilate went down and sat at the seat of judgment, in Greek it's the Bema seat. Bema is the key word. So you have the delicious irony of the crowds are shouting, the Jews are shouting, crucify him, away with him, away him. His blood be upon us and upon our children. And they're going to get all that. And through the office, the Gentile office of the governor, judgment is being pronounced upon God himself. But when Christ comes back to judge the living and the dead, as we profess in the creeds, right? And he shall come to judge the living and the dead. It is Jesus who, the exact same Greek word in the book of Revelation and also in the epistles, who sits on the Bema seat. All authority in heaven and upon earth has been given unto me, Jesus says at the end of the Gospel of St. Matthew, right? So when Jesus returns as King of Kings and Lord of Lords, he shall judge those who should be judged, right, and condemned, right? And with that, then he will usher in the new heavens, the new earth, the new Jerusalem, and he shall raise the dead, and even out of the cave of Machpelah shall come Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob, so forth. Even the patriarchs shall come forth. So Christ, the good shepherd, provides even for his sheepfold. Because notice here, what does he say? Do not fear, I will provide for you and your little ones. Do they deserve that provision? No. Do you and I deserve the provision that God provides? No. And yet, he saves them, restores them, and tells them not to fear, and he provides for them. And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. They don't deserve any of that. So this is all sheer grace, sheer mercy, and such it is that Christ himself is the better Joseph. For we should put our feet into the shoes of the sons of Israel. For indeed, we do not deserve grace and mercy, but that's what we receive. Okay, any questions? And we'll go to the last few verses. This is what, our 2.5-year study in Genesis. It's finally coming to, this is the end.
Really? I can't believe that.
Is it 2 seasons or 3? No, it's 3, 2.5.
This is the third.
Yeah, this is like, I think we started it like January.
Yeah.
So it's taken us 2.5 years of winters and springs to get through. Here we go. Okay, who wants to do the honors and read the last few verses to the end?
So Joseph remained in Egypt, he and his father's house. Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the 3rd generation, the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were counted as Joseph's own. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will visit you and bring you up out of this land to the land that he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died, being 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt.
Okay, so notice now something has already changed. So Joseph, when all of these things that are happening, is probably in his 40s, maybe early 50s, right? Because remember, he was a very young man when he was sold into slavery, and he was in Egypt for quite some time before he was elevated to the right hand. And they've been in Egypt now for several years, and now he's seeing his great-great-grandchildren, right, to the 3rd generation. Is that right? Grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, right? 110 years old. Notice first the lifespans are decreasing, right? Just as
interesting, because he said to his brothers are all older than him, so that means they were even older than 100.
Well, when it says the sons of Israel, this is assuming to the 3rd generation, Remember, this is all the tribes. I don't know if his
Yeah,
brothers.
there, but 24 says Joseph said to his brothers. You don't think it means his literal
Well,
brothers?
that word in Hebrew can mean literally like his kin too.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't. Joseph is still the important, and Judah is later. The sons of Judah is going to become important too. But he's kind of the important person here at the end of the. It could be. It's possible that they're. I mean, they're all living a long time by our standards, but notice the lifespans are
Wasn't
decreasing.
Ben younger?
Because when we started Genesis, they were living into the 900s and the
okay.
800s, and now we're down to like 110. And we Scotsmen only often live into our 60s and 70s, so it's getting really bad.
Wasn't Ben younger?
Benjamin?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the youngest of.
So he
So
might-
maybe some of the brothers are still, maybe they're all still alive. I don't know, but we know now that he's lived long enough to see out to the third generation, and he's promised all the sons of Israel. He's made them all swear that they will. Well, first, God will visit you. He's prophesying. God will visit you. He doesn't say when, right? Often in scriptures, there's the prophetic utterance that something is going to happen with no assurance of what the timeline is going to be, right? Because we know, as we start in Genesis 1, where there's a 400-year gap, boom, right off the bat, right? There are several 400-year gaps in, I think 3 at least, in the Old Testament, right? We'll talk about that next year, or next programming year in September when we got next season. Very good. That's a good way to put it. But yes, but God will visit you and bring you all, plural, up out of the land that He swore to the patriarchs, right? And then He made them swear, and He says He will surely visit you. Twice He says it. He says, but make sure you carry up my bones out of here. Now, wait a second here. Pharaoh allowed Joseph to take his father up out of Egypt, but why isn't Joseph allowed to? Already something has changed. I suspect that the Pharaoh, first of all, the famine's been over, and it's been over a long time.
Yeah.
Now you have 3 generations of these shepherds living in the best of the land, right? People tend to forget like what happened 100 years ago, right? Or 50 years ago. We kind of like, oh, that was a long time ago, right? And so there were good times, there were great times, then there were bad times, but now we're back to good times again. And now we have new leadership. There's a new Pharaoh on the scene. And he's like, well, I didn't make those decisions. Where those people? And remember, the Egyptian culture looks down upon the shepherd type people.
I was going to
right?
say, the original Pharaoh that he came to, it doesn't really say whether he's alive.
I think he's gone at this point. I think
So.
because when we get into Exodus, there's going to be a 400-year gap, and Moses is specifically going to say that the Pharaoh who knew Joseph, or the pharaohs who knew Joseph, and all that goodwill and all that's all gone by the wayside. And now you've got these foreigner invaders, right? And now they're not only out to the 3rd generation, they're out to the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and there's millions of them, right? We have political discussions like that in our own culture, right? Right? About immigration, right? And they're in the best of the land, and they're not Egyptians, right?
They're not slaves, are they?
Well, they weren't initially, yes.
Because Joseph is still a slave when he passes away, as far as we know.
Well, the word there is, now, as we get into this, remember the famine is so great that even the Egyptians are selling I think they're servants. They're servants of, because remember, Joseph is a servant. But then all of Egypt becomes servants, because now Pharaoh's not only taken their land, and he's taken their money, and he's taken their livestock, but the last thing is they can serve indentured servitude. They can sell themselves for 20%, right? So if you think your tax situation is bad and the government's taking 40%, 50% in California or New York, right? They, even as a servant of Pharaoh, even hard-hearted Pharaoh was only taking 20%, right? But things are going to change. 400 years are going to pass plus, and now suddenly these people are a thorn in the flesh of the Egyptians. God has blessed them. He's multiplied them. They're taking over the best of the land. You're not from around these parts, that whole thing. And now tension is going to set in, and they're actually going to go from servants doing the animal husbandry, the flocks, the low-level servant jobs, they're like making the donuts, the French fries, It's like those people over there, and as the rich people roll through the McDonald's, that sort of thing, If I was laughing, I watched the shows on like the East Coast, on that, like Nantucket and stuff, it's like they want all the immigration for all the cheap labor to come in, but they don't want them to live on Nantucket itself, right? So I think that's been the way it is in every generation, in every land, right? So now the tension is going to start, but he says, notice here though, he is not allowed to leave. So I think you already see there's a change in the wind going on here. They're in the land, they're servants of Pharaoh, and Moses also says in a previous chapter, just a couple chapters ago, about the 20% tax situation. The Israelites are giving it, the Egyptians are giving it, and then he says, and that tax situation is even in place even to this day, right? So because Moses is not writing in the time of Joseph, Moses is writing about the oral tradition that has been passed down for 400 plus years. And then, so that tax situation is even in place. However, now there's chains and lashes and the brick pits, and they're building the cities out of straw and mud for Pharaoh. And we can't just pick up and leave and go to Florida for the weekend, right?
Well, there's got to be some significance of picking up Joseph's bones and going to the land of Canaan.
Yes, and the Christological significance of that is, like if you look at the end of my handout here, is for Christians, God is not going to leave our bones in the grave, right? He's not going to leave us in Egypt. This world, Egypt is a symbol of this fallen world, right? He doesn't leave his people here. He takes them out of it, right? So whether it's the Red Sea crossing, the wandering in the wilderness and the Jordan crossing, coming into the land that has been promised to the patriarchs, but also the new heavens, the new earth, the new Jerusalem, the resurrection of the flesh, right? All of this is promised to generations past because Jesus is what? Son of Adam and Eve, son of the patriarchs. He's the Zerah, the offspring, not just offspring plural, seeds plural, but the seed singular, right? He's the son of Judah, the son of David, and yes, even the son of Mary, who is of the tribe and lineage of the house of David, which is the Judah line, the true Jews, if you will. Not just Hebrews, 12 tribes, but the Jews of Judah, right? So, but he's also son of the Father, right? So in the Old Testament, you have the pre-incarnate. He helps his people in a pre-incarnate state, right? He appears to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, right? They know he is God. I've seen the face of God, and yet I live. In the time of the apostles, I'm actually going to be preaching about this tonight. In the time of the apostles, he appears as incarnate, son of David, right? Hosanna to the Son of David, Palm Sunday. Blessed is he who comes he's Messiah, right? But they kill him, right, as was foretold, and he returns as a glorified, resurrected son of man, son of God, right? That's his favorite title for himself in the Old Testament, is Son of Man, which man in Hebrew is Adam. So Jesus is the second Adam, St. Paul calls him, right? So all of that, death, burial, don't leave me in Egypt, right? How many here want their bodies left in the grave forever? Raise your hand. No takers? What? No takers? No, you want to be raised, right? With Christ, and so it shall be. Go in peace. Serve the Lord. See you the first Wednesday after Labor Day for Exodus.
So we're out for